Lovers in Japan. It's a great divider, that song, because it's quite light, but it's really important to the whole balance of everything. And it's just about elopement and, you know, running away with someone, you know, just trying to be free. So I think a lot of the record is about trying to break away from other people's power or influence lyrically. That's what it seems like to me, but just about escaping from the norm. And that song is really about that.
Well, the story behind the piano on Lovers in Japan is there was a studio in New York called The Magic Shop, which we did some work in, and they had what's called a tack piano in there, which is essentially a piano with drawing pins on the hammers, which gives it a very sort of harpsichord type sound. And Chris was, you know, really enjoying playing that. And when we came back to the bakery, we decided that we'd like to make one. So I think Chris and Johnny went out and bought the cheapest piano they could find, and then Will and I
painstakingly
pushed in all the drawing pins into the hammers, and it just worked brilliantly. But we don't take any credit for the actual playing.
No, we just did the thumb work, and yeah, Chris, I think it was a riff that had been around for a while. In fact, quite a long time, but we never quite worked out how to do it and the best way to make it happen. But it was maybe the tacks in the piano that did it, so we can possibly take a tiny bit of credit.
Yeah, Rain of Love we recorded live all together. The original one went on for sort of 20 minutes. We were having sort of just so into the moment. I mean, we cut it down a fair bit. I'm not sure anyone else would have been quite as into it as we were for 20 minutes, but it's a very, quite a fresh sounding song, really, I think. Do you agree?
I would agree that our album, say what you like about it, but it's the most concise that we could have made it. So even if you don't like it, just be grateful that it isn't longer, because we spent a long time making things as short as they could be. And that one is the most well edited.
Yeah, we've a good 17 minutes.
I think that should win an award for best editing.
I like the idea of we like the idea of having a short, not many titles. I think the idea that it's the shortest album, but not the densest, but the most. It has more ideas, you know, perhaps than before, and that's what we wanted to get across. And I think perhaps as a result of the last record feeling like maybe there was a couple of tracks too many, we wanted to keep it as short as possible, but with as little, you know, as many ideas. But if you get the gist of the idea, then that's enough. You know, you don't need to kind of hammer it into people's brains. It's all about kind of as many colours as possible and no fat.
I think Rain of Love was, it was really born in the bakery as far as I remember. And to me, it's always been, it reminds me of like an old hymn or something that you might, you know, sing in a chapel, or, you know, it's got very traditional kind of chord changes, which was something that we'd, you know, never really explored before. So there's an amazing sort of inherent beauty in all of those old hymns, you know, whether you're a religious person or not. And so I think we sort of latched onto this idea, which we hadn't really discovered before. And I think that's what really makes it different.
The idea for Yes came from a Velvet Underground song, and it's very obviously inspired by Velvet Underground. But that's where the tuning came from. But I'm only doing myself a disservice here. Not a disservice, I'm only being honest about myself. I don't know where your stuff came from.
I don't know, I just tried to play along, really.
Oh, you always never want to take responsibility.
I think one of the best things about this record is that Chris has really, I think, deliberately tried to kind of not expand his vocal range. He's capable of singing in all, you know, in all areas, but, you know, he's really tried to pitch songs at things that are quite challenging for him, which I think is really brave, because he has, you know, he's a very recognisable voice, and a lot of our previous songs are kind of pitched at that breaking point between the full voice and the falsetto voice, and I think I think that the lowest note he's ever sung and the highest note he's ever sung are on this record, which just sounds like a slightly flippant fact, but it's especially for in Yes, and where he has it's just a totally different sound for us, and it's very rare that he sings that low, and I think it gives it so much, it makes it kind of jump out of the album for me, because it's so unfamiliar, and it's very subdued and very kind of sultry, but it's kind of exciting for that. It's got swagger. I feel like we've really focused on groove, and it's a word that sounds stupid in kind of non-musical context, but in terms of, it's not necessarily about the intricacy of the drum parts or the rhythms or anything. It's just got a feel, you know, kind of a feel that has.
Well, the thing about, you know, groove is it's a minute timing difference which makes, you know, a whole world of difference, and I think we've captured it really well on a couple of songs, especially. You know, Yes.
It's very sexy. That's why I like that song, because it's about boobs and everything like that, you know? But it's written for another character. I'm just pretending to be someone else in that. The last album was like an enormous multi-pack of Weetabix. Very tasty if you like Weetabix, but even the biggest fan of Weetabix tires after the 19th packet. This is more a sort of Alpen muesli kind of affair. A little smaller, but...
Fruit, nuts.
Fruit, nuts,
Oats.
Grains, oats. No added sugar. Wouldn't you say that's a good...
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
I've making a lot of analogies, but
That's one of your better ones.
it's one of my better ones. Chinese Sleep Chimes is Brian's favourite song, and Guy's favourite song, I believe, and Will's least favourite. So what's great about each song is that someone likes it and someone hates it. And I'm sure that will be echoed across the musical world.
It is Chris singing on Chinese Sleep Chant, but it's drenched in vocal effects and kind of backwards and all kinds of weird and kind of wonderful vocal treatments. And that was something that Brian was keen on, is trying to make the voice sound different, because Chris has a very recognisable voice and a beautiful voice, but it's always, the treatment of it on our records has always been fairly similar, and the idea of having some different, slightly more characterful treatments of his voice was something that we really wanted to do, especially because a lot of the songs are written about a character, you know, so they have an identity of their own, which is, I think, really important. It's not a stripped down version of a full song or anything like that. That's exactly how it was from its inception, really.